Hi, I'm Alicia Ford, Professional Development Director at the UUA, and welcome. We have invited you to be a part of a conversation about mentoring. Many of you probably recall working with a mentor during preliminary fellowship, and that working with a mentor is a requirement of the Ministerial Fellowship Committee. Now, as a new minister faced with this requirement, I was completely perplexed. I had very little idea of who to ask, what to ask for, what qualities mattered, how to describe the purpose of our relationship. I kind of assumed that a mentor, once I found them, would know. And, it's a pretty formational relationship between the mentor and the mentee, and it was one that could have a fairly serious impact on my formation and my vocation, and as such, Unitarian Universalism. And it felt like it was left to chance or informal networks. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with chance or using informal networks to find a mentor, but the UUA and the UUMA recognized how important such a relationship is to formation for a new minister. And as such, we decided to collaborate on creating a more solid infrastructure, a mentoring program for candidates and ministers in preliminary fellowship with the goal of improving the odds of successful Unitarian Universalist ministries, especially for communities that have been historically marginalized. We wanted to bolster our mentoring culture while creating the infrastructure to further ministerial formation. We felt it important to make the mentoring relationship more effective and rewarding for both the mentor and the mentee, and we're doing all of this in aid of continuing to foster excellence in ministry. Some of you probably already know that in January 2014, we held our lead mentor training for 27 colleagues in final fellowship. And those 27 lead mentors, your colleagues, are now charged with being evangelists for mentoring. And every good evangelist needs disciples, needs folks to share the information with, and that would be you. Lead mentors are now charged with creating for themselves communities of practice, a place where mentors could connect around collective learning, thinking, and practicing the skills with others dedicated to this craft of mentoring. And then finally, assisting in a culture shift to one in which mentoring is a part of what excellence in ministry means. We view mentoring as a powerful tool for fostering healthy ministries, and we're deeply invested in fostering a culture that brings together mentoring and intercultural competence, not only for the purposes of retaining candidates and ministers from historically marginalized communities, but also because, in the words of Mitchell Hamer, and I'll just read this quote, "Building intercultural competence involves increasing cultural awareness, deepening understanding of the experiences, values, perceptions, and behaviors of people from diverse cultural communities, and expanding the capability to shift cultural perspective and adapt behavior to bridge across cultural differences." And in this setting that we work in, everyone has culture. And so we thought it absolutely crucial to weave together intercultural competence and mentoring so that we keep before us the multiple ways in which we all work. We bring perspectives that are different from each other, and we view intercultural competence and mentoring as a way to continue this work of fostering excellence in ministry. Larry Pears once said, "The times in which we live require collective wisdom." And collective wisdom, sharing what we know about the best of ministry, about the challenges of ministry, is a part of fostering excellence and is a part of mentoring. So we're inviting you to join us on that journey. I want to introduce you now to Fred Muir, and then later on, Don Cooley, both of whom have been a part of the lead mentor training. And they'll just share very briefly their experiences of that training and how it has worked in their context.
I'm Fred Muir, and I'm just completing 31 years of serving the congregation in Annapolis, Maryland. And in May, I will have completed 40 years since ordination. And so I've been ministering in congregations for a long, long time. And it was just a real thrill for me to go to Atlanta and do the lead mentoring program with Larry Pears and with Phyllis Braxton, who I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. I just love being with colleagues. But what was so special about the lead mentoring in Atlanta was that it was an opportunity to be with colleagues and to have a conversation where there was an agenda, but I felt as though there were no hidden agendas. We were all there for the same reason, not only to listen to Larry and Phyllis, but we were all there to serve each other with no hidden agenda. We were there to be with each other. And I think that I realized was an important part of mentoring. In mentoring, we have an agenda. Oftentimes it's an agenda that is co-created with the mentee and the mentor. But that's it. We both know why we're there. There's no hidden power issues. We're there to serve each other. And that's a fantastic experience, because one of the things that we did early on in the mentoring training was we had an opportunity individually and collectively to reflect on the mentors that we have had in our professional careers, of the importance that they had for us. And it was a time to recall and get in touch and then share with each other why those mentoring relationships were important. And I suddenly realized that for me, again, one of the values of those relationships was that there was no hidden agenda. That the person was there, my mentee, my mentor was there to walk with me and create an evolving agenda that we both could sign on to, that we both felt was important, as well as for that mentor to be a resource for me in terms of pointing out opportunities or people that perhaps I could be in touch with, as well as challenging me in appropriate ways. And not only just sharing information, helping me discern and articulate the vision and purpose of my ministry. Alicia mentioned intercultural competency, which was a phrase that I was familiar with, but I did not know a lot of the content behind intercultural competency. So it was a real pleasure to meet Phyllis Braxton of Pink Consulting, who introduced me, among many other things, to the whole idea of minimization, which is, I discovered that for me, and for others, but mainly for me, I have sometimes wanted to look through people and downplay, minimize the differences between us. And Phyllis talked a lot about, we need to hold up the differences between us, because that's our whole selves. We bring all of that to our ministry. And that was a very important realization for me, the value of transparency in working with colleagues, not to downplay the differences that we have, but to name them, celebrate them, and talk about how important they may be in bringing our whole selves to our ministry. And that was a real insight, such an insight that Phyllis is going to be coming down to the congregation in Annapolis and leading a 2-day intercultural competency workshop, which I'm thrilled by, because I feel like it's going to help move the congregation as well as move my ministry. So I brought a lot away from the Atlanta training. It's something that I hope I can eventually share with others as we do the mentoring training. And I want to encourage my colleagues to make themselves available to participate in this fantastic program that the UUMA and the UUA have designed for us. So I look forward to hearing from some of you.
My name is Dawn Cooley, and I am in my 6th year of settled ministry at First Unitarian Church in Louisville, Kentucky. It was pretty amazing being at the mentoring training. Not only were Phyllis and Larry fabulous facilitators, but being in the august presence of some of the most experienced mentors in ministry was phenomenal. I felt in the beginning like a fish out of water, but by the end of the training, I felt and understood that we need mentors at all spectrums of the ministry, the life of our ministries. We need people who've been doing mentoring for ages, no offense, Fred, but been doing this for a long time, but we also need people who are newer at it as well. I think that as someone who is newer to mentoring, one of the things that was so helpful for me was getting an idea of the structure of how we can structure our mentoring relationship with our mentees by creating a covenant with one another. I think Fred touched on that. By having a list of questions, something as simple as a list of potential questions to help explore areas of ministry that the mentee might be struggling with. There are modules that will help the people who take this training to look at authority from different perspectives as well. And again, then the IDI training is built into some of this as well, because we're going to be looking at the role of culture in our mentoring and how the culture that we bring to the mentoring process impacts and bumps up against other kinds of culture, and how that's something that we can engage and celebrate with. I think that I came away from the training much more confident in my mentoring, my ability to do mentoring with newer ministers, and very excited about it as well, and feeling like I had the tools that I needed, again, as somebody who's newer to this than some other people, that I needed to be an effective mentor. I think one of the other things that was really important to me was we discussed the difference between mentoring, coaching, and supervising, and where those sometimes overlap, and where the distinctions are. And again, it was just a really amazing experience that I highly recommend to anyone who's interested in help bringing along our newer colleagues. They need us so badly. They need people who will engage with them and that they can explore the struggles and the celebrations of ministry with. And this program really helps to put those pieces into place and give us the confidence I think we need as mentors to have a good relationship with our mentees.
Thank you, Dawn, and thank you, Fred, and thank you, Alicia. Many of you we know are already doing mentoring as part of the way that you give back to your colleagues. Some of you may not be mentoring anyone, but looking forward to it in the near future. So this is an opportunity to, as Dawn mentioned and Fred did, have some more resources and some structure and some guidance about how you both frame your understanding of that work and structure it going forward with your mentees so that it adjusts to the needs of the person that you're going to be serving. So we all know how important this work is, how important it was to us, but also that the most vulnerable time for most people entering into ministry is those first few years, and the attrition rates are often the highest then. So we thank you all for looking into how to deepen your practice of this work. And the way to do it is we have these lead mentors who were trained, and like a lot of the UUA and UUMA programs now, we're doing this model of training people who then go more locally in and pass down that information. And that's exactly what we're doing with this model. So coming soon to a chapter near you, or maybe if you're spread far away from other colleagues in a virtual setting, you will have the opportunity to meet with colleagues and have some of the conversations that were had in Atlanta, some of the conversations we need to have as we refine our practice of mentoring and deepen it among us. And so what you need to do is contact the UUMA, who's going to be coordinating, getting you in touch with an opportunity to do this training. And so we want you to email to programs@uuma.org and let them know you're interested. And then someone will get back to you with some possibilities, or as soon as they become available, we'll let you know when they're open to you. So thank you, everybody.
And we will look forward to hearing from you in the near future. If you have questions about the training itself, or anything you want to know about this lead mentor training, feel free to email Allison, programs@uuma.org, and we will be happy to respond. Thanks to Fred, Dawn, and Vanessa, and we'll look forward to hearing from you in the near future.